say welcome to our digital stage, Lee Martin.
Thank you so much. I have my own clock. Try and stay on time here. First of all, this is crazy. I'm so happy to be here. I have a long history with Germany through my time at SoundCloud, and I wish I was there right now. When I say history, I mostly mean beer and doner kebabs, but I'm aiming to get back there as soon as possible. So good afternoon to all of you. My name's Lee. I'm from New Orleans. I'm a developer, a creative developer who's been working in music for almost 2 decades now. I've had a couple of full-time jobs in my career. First, I worked at Silver Artist Management, where I did digital for Foo Fighters and Beastie Boys, Sonic Youth, Queens of the Stone Age, all these crazy bands. At that time, it was mostly MySpace profiles and AIM buddy icons, but I thought it was pretty cool. Right after Silva, I kind of realized that I wanted to become a better programmer. So I thought, what better way of becoming a better programmer than throwing myself in a new technology company? That one was SoundCloud. So at the time, I was the only US based employee of SoundCloud. And I was doing experimental marketing, which was basically like business development with an emphasis on telling people about the SoundCloud platform and what it was possible. And I did get to go to Germany quite a bit because of that gig. Most recently, I had a full-time job at Songkick as VP of Design, where we were trying to help unlock the ticket for artists to sell it directly to their fans. But most people know me as a solo developer. I sort of have been referring to myself as a net maker because I realized I had this photo of my grandfather, and he was also a net maker. He made fishing nets. Again, I'm from Louisiana, Cajun, South Louisiana, so I thought that was pretty special. I make nets. It's a different type of net, but I thought that was cool. So I run a couple of products, Turn, Mock, Listening Party. Turn allows artists to share audio on social networks. Mock allows designers to create mock-up videos of the applications they're building. And Listening Party is an easy way for artists and podcast creators to throw listening events around their content. But most people know me as a freelance web developer where I build activations and marketing campaigns for artists. I kind of rely on 3 principles: simplicity, accessibility, and magic. Simple meaning I focus on building apps and activations that I can kind of explain in a single sentence, because we're typically marketing these things through social feeds. So I figure if I can distill the concept down to a single sentence, the single sentence that's probably going to be put in the artist's tweet to try and get someone to engage with that thing, that's a good starting point. Accessibility is a huge thing. I'm a web-based developer. I love the web. I love sending someone a URL, having them click that thing, and getting value out of it. So even though I say that I do experimental things, you won't see me doing too much in the AR or VR or Web3 world. Anything that has what I call sort of an accessibility issue, I'll experiment there, but rarely does it make it into my client work these days. But I'm very curious about all topics. And magic. I mean, I like using the web in what I hope are unique ways, ways that people did not know was possible. And I think there's sort of a trick involved to that. Very quickly, the process by which I follow, always experimenting, learning about new technologies, building little things. So I have basically a big bag of little things. And when I go to have a conversation with an artist, I listen for things that they're saying during the conversation, and I try and associate it with one of those things that I've been experimenting with, and hopefully that makes its way into a proposal. And then I wait patiently. Sometimes I get an approval, which is great. Sometimes not. That's fine. Um, and then I quickly go into wireframes, basically like pattern diagrams of how the application will work. And then I actually prototype the wireframe. What's interesting here is how late design actually happens in my process. I tend to hold the clients accountable to the concept and the technology and the solution itself before we start getting into what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel. Since a lot of these mechanisms are quite complicated, I like to get that out of the way first. This is how it works. Are you cool with this? Fine. Once all is said and done, we do launch it, and then I write a rather lengthy case study about it. So speaking of case studies, I have a dev blog, leemartin.dev. I'm about to go through a lot of examples of work, but I'm not going to talk too deeply about them. But if you are interested in any of the projects, each of these projects have dev blogs associated with them that not only explain how it was done, but also gives a little bit of an idea of why it was done. So first project is from the deep portfolio, Close Your Eyes. Again, I work on the web. It's very much an awareness problem. It's hard to make people pay attention to things. So early on, I conceptualized an idea of an audio player that only played a song if you closed your eyes. It sort of forced people into paying attention for a moment. I called it an artist first audio player. Here's a quick video of what that looked like. And I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Next up, earlier this year, I was working for Eddie Vedder. He had a new record coming out called Earthling. And I had this idea to basically do a message in a bottle campaign, except the bottle was a satellite and the ocean was outer space. So anyone could record a message and it got shot up into outer space virtually and began an orbit around the Earth. And then users could go outside with a companion web-based AR app and look at the messages that were currently orbiting over them. This is a far-fetched concept. Eddie Vedder has a slightly older fan base, but holding myself accountable to that simplicity concept, this is how many messages were created in the first couple of hours. Pretty insane. This is moving at very fast speed, by the way. This is not the actual orbiting speed. That would be insane. The next project is another idea I had for a long time that I was waiting for the right client. This is a concept I was calling the Keyhole Concept. It's an audio experience where it's required of you that you grant access to your webcam and allow a stranger to watch you in order to access content. So basically like peering through a keyhole, someone looking at you, you looking at them, giving away a little bit of your privacy. I'll show you an example of what that looked like. So that's me on the camera. And sorry, I can't hear the audio, but I'm suspecting that you guys are hearing this rockin' music at the same time. But basically, every time I click next, it pairs me up with another stranger. And occasionally, it also pairs me up with some pre-recorded videos of the band. And the idea of voyeurism, watching being watched, the band wanted to address that. One of my last projects was for Jack White. I can make this very brief. We built an application that required that you wake up before dawn in order to listen to a song. And we used, again, sort of a web-based AR experience where the sound of the audio clip was positioned in 3D based on where the sun was. So you wake up early, You go outside, you point your phone towards the sun, and you can hear it, but only for a little while. As the sun rises, the audio sort of fades out like an FM radio. Here's an example of that. My friends have a joke that I built the most complicated ways to hear an audio clip. I think that's fairly accurate. So as I do a spin, you can kind of hear the audio shift in a 3D space just a little bit. Another random idea. I always saw those photos of like artists in Times Square in front of their Spotify billboard. Spotify purchased Billboard, and I thought it was hilarious because they always taking these pictures, and I just thought it was just so easy to simulate. So I actually created a Photoshop file of Times Square where you could change the image that was on the billboard, and I gave it to small artists, and I was be like, fake your own Spotify Times Square takeover. But I took this to the next level by simulating actually a video takeover of a billboard in Times Square. To be precise, the NASDAQ tower building, which is kind of this 3D space. I'll just click this. Basically, this video went live on YouTube, and we wanted people to believe this was real, and we actually created a Twitter feed so you could tweet on a hashtag and it showed up on the billboard. And the idea was that we were letting fans take over Times Square with us. This actually kind of backfired on me because the fans were sad that it wasn't real when they found out, because they were like, damn, finally our guy made it. And that was a little bit sad. That's a really quick one. This is for Lard Huron. We held sort of an online seance where users needed to recite an incantation a bunch
until
of times.
you die.
May you live until you die, in order to unlock a piece of content. So it was basically using a little bit of voice recognition to make sure you said the right phrase. And once 5,000 people said it, it unlocked a piece of content. So sort of a group unlocking project. I do a lot of playlist generators as well, kind of thematic playlist generators, a nice little DSP note. This one was for Tycho. We basically took your weather and turned it into a playlist on Spotify and Apple Music by correlating weather properties, wind, temperature, humidity, to audio features on Spotify. So things like loudness, tempo. So like maybe a fast wind speed means I should receive faster tracks. Here's what it looked like. Props to Tycho for the aesthetic. Pretty simple. Every now and then I get a really great opportunity. It's kind of to work with an artist who has a genuinely interesting concept for the playback of their album. In the past, I had built a video player for Dave Grohl, where he had recorded this 24-minute composition and recorded himself playing all the instruments separately. And we sort of built an experience that allowed you to switch between the instruments he was playing. Rex, this band from London, created this record called Mega Bear, which is a 52-track record that had a 52 visual representation as a deck of cards. And each of the tracks kind of have a beginning and end. So the cards in the tracks can be shuffled in basically an infinite amount of manners and still sound pretty cool. So they had that concept, but they didn't really have a technical way of sharing it, both visually and sonically. So it was a really great pleasure to build this interface for them. clearly like kind of a tactile interface where we were playing around with the idea of cards and flipping them. I still can't believe they did this. These guys are geniuses. And I think this might be the last one that I have to show. But I had an idea. This definitely falls in the mischievous category. But I had an idea to build an audio player that was powered by tweets. But basically, there was a new clip of a water park song. And I put a player on a website, but I put the volume at 0. And users needed to tweet a certain hashtag. I think it was hashtag greatest hits, which was the name of the record, in order to increase the volume. The only problem is the website actually fought back and continually lowered the volume. So they were basically trying to fight against the website. And of course, the band immediately trended on Twitter because of the sort of fan activity. I don't think this clip has sound, but it gives you an idea of the fight, all of the little bubbles being the people tweeting and the volume attempting to be pushed up. But anyway, if you like any of these projects, and there's many, 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 many more of these examples, go to leemartin.dev. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, Lee, so
I
many
actually
thanks.
couldn't hear any of you. I hope you guys laughed during that.
Yeah, they really did, definitely, yeah.
Okay, good.
No, many thanks. I don't know if you can see us as well, at least a little bit. I think the
Yes.
stage should be. Oh, awesome. Okay, then many thanks to New Orleans. I think that was really inspiring, really creative. If you want to check out his website, he also shares like the code, the ideas behind it, which is really, really insightful. And for now, I think we have the possibility to ask you some questions with our microphone in the audience. Are there any questions so far? Yes. First one, okay, 2. Start here.
Yo, what up? What is your basic mindset for experimenting?
Basic mindset for experimenting. That's a great question. I mean, I follow a lot of other creatives and I follow a lot of technology stuff. So I kind of let the inspiration come to me in that regard. Like, I get excited about the silliest stuff. I'll give you an example. One technology that I use a lot of is Tensorflow, which is kind of Google's machine learning technology. And they have a subset of it called MediaPipe. And MediaPipe recently released this feature that allows you to understand what's happening on a video camera, but in a very, very like generic way. So it's like a list of 1,000 things that a user could be doing on a video feed, like doing push-ups or like baking cookies. So immediately I like see something like that and I'm like, oh my God, now I have to go find an artist who has a song about cookies and we're going to do like bake cookies to unlock, that kind of thing. But it is like very technology focused, but it's pretty organic, you know, like just constantly hacking, learning things, listening, finding things. And of course, a lot of inspiration comes from the clients themselves, the digital people that are attached to it. Those conversations can be very stimulating if you have the right person on the call or the right artist, for sure.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Good morning, Lee. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
I was wondering, like the last example that you gave us, you used tweets and connected them to a website. So here I can clearly see that you connected like a big social network to your experimental ideas. But with the rest, was it also possible to implement it or to connect it to a social network? Let's say, for example, the idea of the message in the bottle. Would fans have to use an individual platform that you created for them, or can you connect it to big social media platforms, even though it's so individual?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, it would have been much more, I would have been much more inclined to associate a social network with the concept, log in with Facebook or log in with Instagram, publish there, try and create it within that network. These days, for me, it's all about accessibility. So even something like the Eddie Vedder satellite project, it requires absolutely nothing from the user to participate. And that's my favorite sort of accessibility. Like you go to the website, you don't have to log in. All you have to do is share your microphone and record, and you're participating in the thing. And of course, since it's our own little playground there, we get to control what it looks like, how it feels, and of course, what the upsells are to it. So it's sort of a decision. I'm not opposed to building within platforms, but I tend to like focus on doing what the web is best, which is just being the web.
All right, we have time for one more question. Yes, I think, maybe two. Sorry if I forgot you on this side, because my view is limited.
Good morning, Lee. Thanks for your amazing talk, by the way. Your shirt is great.
Cheers. Thank you.
I have a question. How do you price design your work? Is it that labels come to you and they say like, we need this or that, and then you name a price, or do you get creative first and come to them and say like, yo, that's what I want for that idea? How do you do it?
Just $1 million flat rate for anything, big or small. No, it's I tend to think that there's a project for any budget, right? So if I can figure out how much money the client is dealing with, it certainly helps me. But it's a very interesting topic because I play with a dial here, control versus monetary gain. And I personally, as a developer, choose to take only an amount of money that still allows me to be independent, in control of the project. I don't take big projects that take a long time for that reason. And I've been pitched, hey, Lee, you want to build a website that's going to have to be maintained? You want to stay on this website for 6 months, for a year? I say, no, I want to build a website that can be built in 2 weeks, as quickly as possible, for a maximum amount of money, but the least amount of trouble. And my favorite clients are those who sort of understand how I work and kind of give me that autonomy to just be creative and kind of stay on top of it in that sense. So the budget's kind of figure out himself. I mean, I charge a small fee, a medium fee, and a large fee, and adjust the rate if I feel like there's going to be drama, if that makes sense.
So you adapt it to what you're able to do in a certain time frame?
Exactly.
All right.
Time is like the big thing because there's just so much work. I'm very lucky in that regard that I don't want to do like quantity over quality, but I also, as a freelancer, don't want to say no to too many things. So I attempt to encourage the client to like distill an idea down to something that's a little bit more bite-sized, which again, if you think back to the simplicity accessibility principle I was talking about, these are the types of things that people can kind of understand quickly on the web. So I think it all sort of is connected in that way. Like, let's not take this really, really, really big swing if we can stop ourselves from doing that. Instead, let's just kind of like try it. It's an experiment and see how it resonates with our fan base.
Great, thank you.
Cheers.
One last question. I think I saw some, or maybe no. Okay, it has been dealt with. All right.
Hi, thanks for the awesome talk. What do you do for a break? Like, we talk about what you do for a living, but what do you do to like take a rest, calm down, maybe fuel up your creative energy? What do you do?
For break, yeah, now you're really affecting me, man. Not much. I mean, I'm in New Orleans. There's a lot to do here. I have a lot of family here. So anytime that I take a break from my computer, from my creativity, it's usually to just be with my family. But I love a good trip. Right now, I'm planning a 6-week trip to Scandinavia this summer, COVID pending. And I'm looking forward to just kind of disconnecting there. I love a good book. I love a good video game. I love chilling with my girlfriend, who's also a creative person. So that's actually not great because we kind of fuel each other's creative energy and we're always kind of stuck in this creative loop. But we also love to sort of turn off and chill if we can. But yeah, it's mostly family-oriented stuff for me.
All right. Many thanks, Lee, once again. Now it's time for our next little break. Please, big round of applause. Awesome talk.